What's going on, guys? Christian Hanna Horror here today. Today I want to do a very important review and bring more awareness to this movie because it has its fans, don't get me wrong, but on average, when I look through Facebook and I talk to people, especially in real life, for every one person that knows about Manhunter, it's probably 20 that know about the movie Red Dragon. So if you don't know, let me just say this. Manhunter is Red Dragon before Red Dragon. Not only that, before Silence of the Lambs. In the 1980s, Michael Mann, a very, very established director, created a movie called Manhunter. And it was based exactly off of the Red Dragon novel by Thomas Harris that we all know, who would then go on to do Silence of the Lambs, and that movie became one of the greatest movies ever made. And if you've seen Red Dragon, you may want to say to yourself, wait a minute, so is Red Dragon kind of like a remake? Is that what you're saying? I guess kind of, in a way. The bottom line is this: Red Dragon got made later because of the huge, massive success of Silence of the Lambs. So they did Red Dragon, they did Hannibal, they did the Thomas Harris stuff. But Manhunter was a movie that predated all of it. And quite frankly, it's one of the absolute best movies that has the Hannibal Lecter story in it. So in 1986, like I said, Manhunter was created. And this movie is probably, I don't like using the term underrated. I think it gets thrown out loosely. But for the sake of this video, I gotta say, I think Manhunter is probably the most underrated 80s horror movie ever made. Manhunter is the real Red Dragon. And I don't like to throw that term out loosely, saying this is the real this or this is the real that. Disclaimer alert though, I love Red Dragon. But when it comes down to which one is the real Red Dragon, I think it's Manhunter every day of the week. You know, this movie is absolutely amazing in pretty much every way. You know, when it comes to comparing the two, which I don't want to do, but I feel like I've got to, you know, Manhunter is a movie that is extremely focused. It's got this really, really sophisticated color palette to it. Michael Mann had this very distinct vision for what he wanted to do with this movie. And while Red Dragon is great, I just feel like that movie just looks like a big Hollywood production, where Manhunter is extremely, extremely moody. It's got a certain color palette that Michael was going for. It's got a certain look. And cast-wise, it's amazing. I mean, it really is that good. So the first thing I'll say about Manhunter, if you have no idea, if you haven't seen this or Red Dragon, it's about this retired detective who is being pushed back to go into work because there is this killer on the loose called the Tooth Fairy. And he is killing families, seemingly, with no reason whatsoever. The cops can't figure out why this is happening. He gets lured back into doing the job, and it soon becomes this extremely riveting case that it is a race against the clock to save the next family, and they have to try to stop the Tooth Fairy and figure out what to do. This movie has Hannibal Lecter in it, but it's not Anthony. It's a man named Brian Cox. And let's just say this right at the top. The only thing that I don't think is better than the other movies is Hannibal Lecter. But do not sleep on Brian Cox's performance as Dr. Lecter in this movie. He is awesome. You know, this movie is almost beat for beat the way Red Dragon is, which is very interesting. If you watched Red Dragon and you're going to go back and watch Manhunter for the first time, you're going to be like, oh wow, I recognize this scene. I recognize that line. It's almost the same movie, or it pretty much is the same movie, except they're vastly different in terms of the look and sound and style. I just think Manhunter beats it in every conceivable way. This movie has the most foreboding soundtrack I've ever heard. When it comes to the music, there's nothing better than the Manhunter score. Michael Mann was able to take this movie and give it this boiling pot of water feeling where it's just getting hotter and hotter. The entire movie feels like you've got a slingshot right in front of your face and you're just waiting for it to let go. It is tense. What's really interesting about Manhunter is that this is an 80s movie, in the middle of the 80s, 1986, and it's dead serious. Because by 1986 there was so much fun, horror, comedy. Freddy was running rampant by this point, which is fine by me because I love Freddy. But Manhunter is as serious as a heart attack. And that's what I love about this film. It is no holds barred, extremely tense. And it's one of my favorite just cop, thriller movies. It's a horror movie, don't get me wrong, but it's such a great cop movie too, because you go through all these facets with these characters. As far as the lead that plays Will Graham, that gentleman was amazing. I think he is probably one of the best leads in a 80s movie I've ever seen. It is so good. Again, going back to the Lecter scene, when you see these two meet in this room for the first time, when you see it in Red Dragon, it's like already like touching a hot coal or something. That once you see Lecter in Red Dragon, it's boom, boom, boom. It's intense. But what I love about Manhunter is when you see Brian Cox as Lecter in this movie, you go into this tiny, tiny, tiny white room. It is white. And it's like building and building. And it gets more uncomfortable. And it gets more uncomfortable. And that's what I love about that scene. It's different, guys. Again, when it comes to what I think is the only thing that's not better per se, it's Brian Cox. But that's not saying anything bad. He is amazing. It's just different. His Lecter is very much different. Quite frankly, he's not the star of the movie. And Red Dragon, he's still featured in that movie. Like, when he's on screen, they make it a big deal because, without Anthony Hopkins, I don't know that those movies would have had the success that they had. So that's why in Red Dragon, I feel like he's propped up more in Red Dragon. In Manhunter, Lecter has a very specific part in this movie. He's an aid character in this movie, but he's amazing nonetheless. I give so much credit to Brian Cox in this movie because he is fantastic, and more people need to see his performance as Lecter in this. But the real star of this movie is its main villain, the Tooth Fairy, played by Tom Noonan. Now, I know that there are a lot of fans out there for Tom Noonan, and when it comes to comparing the killer in Red Dragon and comparing the killer in Manhunter, respect all day to the Red Dragon guy. This is Tom Noonan's greatest on-screen performance. And I love Tom Noonan. He has been great in so much stuff. He was in RoboCop 2 as the villain, and he was great. He was in Last Action Hero. He was great. He's been in so many great films with so many very interesting roles. And I think if you're a fan of Tom Noonan and you haven't seen his performance in Manhunter, you will be pleasantly surprised. He is extremely unnerving. He is extremely unsettling, and I just don't think he gets enough credit. I think Tom Noonan is an amazing actor. Not just character actor, because I don't really know what that term means. Like, of course, you're playing a character in every movie. He is an amazing actor, and he shines in this movie. He makes me feel very uncomfortable. It's just amazing. It's just amazing, guys. Manhunter, I really, truly think, is one of the most underrated 80s movies, period. This is the real Red Dragon. Not taking anything away from the actual movie called Red Dragon. This is Red Dragon to me. It always will be. And it is second behind Silence of the Lambs in terms of all the movies that include the character of Hannibal Lecter. I've seen them all. I've watched the TV shows. You name it, I've seen it. You've got Silence of the Lambs, that is a 10 out of 10. And you've got Manhunter, that is a 9.9999999 out of 10. And then the rest are a little bit below that. I like them, but Manhunter, I think, is the only one that really gets that close to Silence of the Lambs. And when I say that close, I mean that close. If you haven't seen Manhunter, I think you will be pleasantly surprised, especially if you're a fan of the movie Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs. It's different, it's very focused, it's got its own look, and I just want more people to see this film. It's a shame. This Scream Factory Blu-ray came, and as soon as it arrived, it went out of print, and that really breaks my heart. But that's okay, guys. I'm going to leave an Amazon affiliate link in the description below for a 3-movie Blu-ray pack for $10 of Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, and Manhunter, which is included. And I think it's probably only the theatrical cut. This Blu-ray includes both the theatrical and the director's cut. Now, the director's cut aids in scenes and gives you a little bit more context, but it's not a problem. The theatrical cut will do you guys perfectly fine. You need to see this movie. This is the most important review I've ever done, I think, because I'm really trying to push an amazing film that not enough people have seen. So if you haven't seen Manhunter, please let me know in the comment section below. Let me know if this video entices you to check it out. And I really hope you guys enjoy the film. Again, I am not knocking Red Dragon. Red Dragon is great. This is the real Red Dragon.